So I was reflecting on what I was going to talk about today, and as I did, I remembered one of Gene and I's second dog, and it was a little poodle terrier mix, about this big, little tiny dog, but what a disposition. Its name was Buddy. And at the time, we got Buddy when we were living in Michigan, but we were moving to Rhode Island, one of those corporate moves. So we built a house in Rhode Island. We had a beautiful colonial that had a basement. Do you know what a basement is? Okay. We had a basement. And so we figured when we would go to work, we would put the Buddy dog down the basement. And we would put gates at the bottom of the basement for the dog. Every day we would come home, the dog would find a way to push the gate aside, to move it away. One day, I got really smart, and I got this metal sign like this, and I blocked the thing. I tied it down. There was no way the dog was getting through. Came home that night, and there's the Buddy dog waiting for us at the door to the garage. I said, this can't be. And I walked downstairs. The dog had chewed a hole through the plasterboard. Through the drywall, it chewed a hole, and he just smiled. So I thought about that, and I said, why did the dog do that? Because it was his natural instinct to be free. Isn't that fascinating? And then you start thinking about, as a minister, you get to talk with people of all walks of life, kids in all different areas and all of that, and you hear about all this stuff that's going on. And I want to say this, the second a child pops out of a mother, even when it's coming out of the mother, it's what? It's trying to be free. It's trying to be free from being in the womb. And then once it comes out, for the rest of its life, it's seeking to be free. It's birthing itself away. Everything is about rebelling. And then what happens the second that child comes out? The mother says, I'm going to love you forever. I'm going to cradle you. I'm going to nurse you. I'm never going to let you out of my sight. And so the mother's holding on to this child, and the child's going, get away. It starts screaming. It starts going through the terrible twos. It's doing all of this rebellious stuff because why? The child wants to be free, not because it doesn't love the mother or the father, but because it's its natural instinct. And then we go and we get into school. And what happens in school? We go into little rooms that are like boxes, right? And then they take little ideas that are like boxes and we try to fit us into these little boxes. And then if we don't fit into the box, we get put in a corner with a dunce hat. Or in my case, I went to a school with IHM nuns. And these nuns, if you didn't do what they wanted, they beat the crap out of you. The pointer, you see the wooden pointers? You used to get whacked. I mean, you got whacked. Stanley Furtak took racers in the side of his head. The second grade nun, Sister Marie Constance, I'll never forget her name. Stanley was talking with a kid. Sister Marie took that eraser, hauled off, and threw it, caught him square in the side of the head. And then you think so all of that would be called abusive today, would it not? And then you go to the seminary, right? That's where I was at 15. I lived away from home in a seminary. And in the seminary, if you think you had boxes the nuns wanted you to put in, go there and you'll feel the box, because if you got bad, the paddle came out. And these teachers, these priests, the paddle would be about this long. It would have a handle like this, and there'd be holes drilled into it. And you were bad, you had to bend over. They would say, assume the position. And there you are. You're assuming your hands on your knees. You had to close your eyes, and you start shaking. You were literally shaking. And then out of nowhere, that priest didn't just do this. He wound. And he came with a big thing, and bam, on one cheek, lifted you off the ground. You'd be in gym a little later that day, and all your buddies would come up and say, let me see your welts. And you'd be talking about it. And I say this because why would I rebel? I got a lot of wallops. I got a lot of paddles because I was rebelling. Because I didn't feel free. I was being told what to believe, told what to do. I don't believe in that. So you're part of Agape. You're here at Agape. My son Stephen says you're going to put me on a pedestal and you're going to blindly believe everything I say. And I always say my disclaimer in front of everyone all the time. Never believe me. Test it for yourself and prove it for yourself. And you become the person who controls your beliefs, okay? Hear the disclaimer? So I'm off the pedestal, am I not? At least for the moment. It was interesting. We went and saw the movie Tomorrowland the other day. Loved the movie. I mean, there was so much great symbolism, so much great stuff in it. But in the end, they had this like bubble thing that was sending out signals. And they were sending out signals for people that would cause a frequency that would have people to think a certain way so they would understand how bad it was, so maybe they would change. Well, the problem was when people kept getting these bad signals, this energy coming out, it fed them, and they became obsessed with it. They started watching more news. They started seeing the bad, and the whole world was becoming more and more bad. And so at the end, they destroyed the transmitter. Do we have any transmitters going on right now? Everywhere you look, there's an energy being transmitted. And what's that energy trying to do? Control how you think. No, control what you think, not how you think. It's to control what you think. And you see, this is the essence of what we teach at Agape. It's about how to think for yourself. How to think for yourself, about others, and about the world. And only you have the right idea of how to think for you. Because you have a specific DNA in you that says, I desire to be free so that I can express my gift into the world, and my gift into the world is unique to me. So in order to give that unique gift, you must be free from everything. That means your mother, your father, your children, your spouse, your brother, your sister, from a church, from a government. You must be free. And see, here's the thing. People say, how can everyone be free? There'll be utter chaos everywhere. If everyone is coming from a point of love, meaning that from the point of love, let me go into that a little bit. From the point of love means that you are tapped in and connected with an infinite power and presence that is expressing in and through and as you. And that infinite power and presence that is expressing in and through and as you is infinitely wise. It's infinite wisdom. And so there's a special little DNA in you that's something called an impulse, a desire within you that is desiring to express itself in its perfect, unique way. So if all infinite wisdom is coming in and that DNA is saying express in a unique way, it's going to be always what? For more life. It's always going to be for more life because that's the essence of it. Everything is about more life. So if everything is about more life and you feel free, are you going to care about anyone else? Are you going to try to steal someone else's stuff? Are you going to want to kill somebody? You see, this is the essence. We think that we've got to have all this stuff to regulate people. No, it's not that we have to have stuff to regulate people. We've got to help people become more aware. Aware that there's an infinite power and presence in them. Aware that they have the power to use that and to create from it. They have the power to do it in their unique fashion. One of the things that I do is I'm doing a lot of counseling lately. People are having things they want to talk about. And so in that counseling, the first question I always ask after I listen to the story about what's causing the dis-ease or the uncomfort is, what's your spiritual practice? In most cases, there isn't any. In most cases, the spiritual practice is not regular. So if you don't have a regular spiritual practice, and this is what I mean when I say spiritual practice. A spiritual practice is where you are feeding what's being sent into your mind. You are controlling the nature of your subconsciousness. You are creating a mental, emotional, physical, spiritual energy that radiates out from you, and that the only thing that can come into that energy is like. Make sense? So if you have a certain energy field, only thing that comes to you is what you allow in because you've taken the time to create it. And you do that through a daily practice. Without a daily practice, you're going to be bombarded from every which way but loose, from everything. Everything is manipulated out there for a purpose. Think about that. Our society wants you to have their view. Our society is judging what is right and what is wrong. Churches are judging what is right is what is wrong. The government is judging what is right or what is wrong. Corporations are telling you what they want you to buy. So you're being fed. Schools are teaching you to fit into a system that allows to feed the system, right? So everything is feeding at you. If you're not doing a daily work, then you're being bombarded and your unconsciousness is being created by things that you may not have chosen. So a spiritual practice is the essence of it. And it's interesting, beautiful young man in the front, Tom, met me 4 years ago at Vipassana, my first Vipassana that I ever did. Vipassana is in Kaufman, Texas. It's a form of meditation where we go and do 10 days of pure silence and about 12 to 15 hours of meditation, and you can't even acknowledge people. You are living within yourself, purifying. And one of the things that I rebelled against in Vipassana was I love the meditation. I love the rebooting. I love the peace. I love the quiet. But nothing was done about changing what was there in the subconscious mind. You see, if we don't change what's in the subconscious mind, we'll come out of that, and that recording will start rerunning itself all over again. It'll take some time. You know, if you've been 10 days of silence, you're going to come out of there, and you're going to be pretty darn refreshed, but you haven't done anything to change yourself. Over a day, 2, 3, you go back into the workplace, you go back into listening to radio, you go back to the television, you go back to being around the same circle of friends. The noise comes at you again, right? It's the same noise. The next thing you know, you've forgotten about the 10 days of silence. You've forgotten that you've rebooted your whole mind. You have really reintegrated yourself back in, and what you've done is you've given yourself a 10-day vacation from thought. But you haven't advanced in consciousness. So when I go to Vipassana, I cheat. I'm just telling you up front, I'm a cheater. And I'm consciously choosing to cheat, but to me, it's honoring me. It's self-loving me. Because I understand the critical nature of meditation. I understand it's one of the pillars that we must have in our lives on a daily basis in order to move forward. But I also believe that we have to direct the conscious thought within our mind. We have to create a mental atmosphere. We do that through what we call spiritual mind treatment or affirmative prayer. We do that through affirmations. We do that for gratitude. So when I'm in Vipassana, I'm doing 12, 13 hours of meditation a day. That's a lot of meditation. Then I'm over here and I'm doing about 2.5 hours of affirmations. So I'm doing about 4,000 affirmations, where I'm feeding in my subconscious mind. I also have a spiritual book that I want to really get into. And I took one book this last time and I read it 4 times while I was there. You see, what I did is I quieted the mind. I erased the whiteboard of all the nonsense of my life. I detached from all phone, computer, and that. My wife did not exist in my life. My children did not exist in my life. I existed with just me. And I cleared Lee. I wiped away everything about Lee, and then I came over here and I implanted and recreated Lee. So when I left Vipassana, what happens? I get bombarded again, right? But the difference is I meditate twice a day, an hour each time. I'm doing affirmations 2,000 to 3,000 every day. When I walk, I'm doing affirmations. When I'm driving, I'm doing affirmations. I've always got prayer beads on me. I'm always using them. I do prayer all the time because I pray for members of the community. I pray for my family. I'm always doing that. I'm always in a gratitude practice. I'm always teaching forgiveness, so I'm always having to do forgiveness. It seems that no matter how much forgiveness I do, there's more to do. Sometimes it really sucks. I got to tell you, when someone tells you that they've spiritually got it, that they understand and know, that's their ego talking, and they're going to have an experience that's not going to be very pleasant. Because the more that I uncover that I know, the more I realize how much I don't know. The more I think I've reprogrammed my mind, that I'm in place, the more I realize how much more there is to reprogram. Just wait and watch and have someone do a little this or a little that. They will press a button. Shit, I thought I had that, you know? You're saying that. If you don't know I'm an earthy minister, you're not going to have a Catholic priest up here talking. So there's going to be earthy language. And that's okay. I've got people all over the world that watch this, that write me and tell me, I like that. It's amazing. I had a woman in Australia send me a message this week. Hey, I tried to download your podcast. It didn't work. I reloaded it, and she was right. It wasn't working. So I had to hear it from Australia. But isn't it great that people are that attached to finding a message? Because people are listening because they're seeking to be free. You will never hear me tell you this is what you must believe. I'm going to make suggestions to you that if you want to be free, you've got to develop a meditation practice, and you've got to start to change your subconscious mind. I'm going to tell you that over and over and over again. And I want you to just take a moment. Remember I was talking to you about being bombarded from all these directions with information and stuff in that? Just take a moment and feel the energy in here. Do you feel free? Do you feel supported? That's what we're creating. We're creating a safe place where you can come to grow yourself, to experiment, to expand, and to be unique. We will never, ever talk about diversity, ever, because we will only talk about inclusivity. You see, if there's one power and there's one presence and it's infinite and it's all-knowing, then everything is that. If everything is that, then the essence of all that we are is the same. Why would I even begin to talk about diversity? I will talk about that you have a unique way of expressing, and you have a unique way of expressing, and you have a unique way, and you have a unique way. But I'm never going to say we have this group or that group or this group or that group. No, because the second you say that, you create separation. I don't want separation. I want inclusivity. I want us all to look at each other and see God. To feel God. When you walk up to someone, I don't know this lady, I just met her, but I'm going to look into her eyes, and at the core of all that I see God. I see her as infinite. I see her as whole. I see her as perfect. I see her as infinite love. I see infinite possibilities. I see divine wisdom flowing through her. How could I not love this woman? And you can do that with anyone. That's what Jesus said when he said, love God above all else, and love thy neighbor as thyself. You see, we've taken this word love and we've made it a sexual thing. That you can't really love someone unless there's sex involved. Sex has nothing to do with love. Sex has nothing to do with love. Love is seeing God. And it's not just seeing God in a person. It's seeing God in everything. You've got to be able to embrace that whatever's happening anywhere in the world, it's the divine causing contrast for itself to become more aware and to experience itself at a higher level. So when we have unrest in Ferguson, we have unrest in Baltimore, when we have unrest in the Middle East, it's about saying to the consciousness of the earth, it's time to become more aware. What you are doing is separation, and it is not working. What's happening all over the world with all of this rebellion, all of the riots, all of the wars, it's because what? People don't feel free. Freedom doesn't happen easily when you don't have a roof over your head, you don't have food, and you don't have water. And you're in fear of death every moment. There is no freedom. And what are you going to do if you don't have that? You're going to strike out with your reptilian brain, are you not? So whatever we're seeing in rebellion that's on force in that, it is the reptilian brain coming out because the basic needs of people are not being met. The thing we focus on as a community, how do we hold a consciousness and how do we become a part so that the reptilian brain can be pushed aside, it's not needed, and how can we be a place of love and see that, and how can we take the food in this planet can feed the planet 4 times over. 4 times over, there's enough food. How do we find a way to have it distributed so everyone has food? How do we find a way, instead of building a nuclear bomb, how do we find a way to purify water so everyone has pure water to drink? How do we find a way so everyone is taught to think for themselves so that they can find their passion, their joy, and they can now express their freedom? See, those are questions we want to ask because those questions are for more life. Do you see, anything that we ask that is not for more life is not God. It's the ego. It's an aspect of us that is in fear. You see, you can't have fear when you're feeling oneness. You can't have guilt if you're feeling oneness. You can't be sad if you're feeling oneness. Because when you are connected with all that is, you understand at every cell of your being that you're whole. Think about it. There's over 100 trillion cells in your body, and the same consciousness that created the universe is consciousness in each of those cells. And all of those cells come together and they make what? One body temple. And that's the consciousness of God. The same consciousness that created the world is right here, right there, right there, right there. What you're seeking in any moment of frustration, any moment of despair, any moment of anger is freedom. And the freedom you're seeking is to be you. That's all you ever want to be. Most powerful word that you can learn to say that's going to give you freedom is the word no. When people ask you to do something and it's against your freedom, say no, thank you. No, thank you. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to do what is in my highest interest of expressing love. Now, you can't rush out and say, I got this minister. And I was at church yesterday, and your boss comes up to you and he tells you got to do this, you're getting fired. You can't just go, no. But you can start questioning in your mind, is this what I want to do? Is this really where I want to go? And if it's not, then you ask the question, so what is it I want? You see, you don't have to say the no, but you're thinking the word no. So you're questioning in yourself, okay, I'm in this situation. How would I be better to be free? What could I do that I could be of service to people? You see, when we're in a job or a career, the most important thing is that we are giving our gift in service to others. It could be working for a corporation. It could be an entrepreneur. It could be a solo person working out there. But whatever it is, it's about our way of being of service, about our way of giving our greatest gift. And when we're giving that gift, we're free because we've chosen it. You see, if you've chosen what to give, that's freedom. If you've chosen who to be with and you're with that person, that's freedom. But if you're with a person, you didn't choose them, run. I've talked about that in counseling. What I find is what drives people most is that there's always, at the core of all problems, there's a lack of self-worth. And self-worth translates into a lack of self-love, right? Can't have both. Here's one that came to me from a beautiful woman that's a part of our community, and she said it in different words, and I've been really pondering these words this last week. She says it's also a matter of self-trust. So if you believe you're the essence and allness of the divine, shouldn't you trust the power in you? Should you have to rely on something external, Or can you go within? And can you tap into that power, and can you begin to build a mental image using your gift, imagination, and fill in that image at a deeper level, and keep building that image and building that image and building that image and building that image, and then start speaking that image. Start thinking about that image. Start acting from if that image was already here. And start living from the feeling of being in that image. Right now, I'm speaking to 2 million people. That's what I feel. And you see, that feeling is everything. Because all we are ever seeking is to feel. You see, we can't experience anything in this life unless we feel. It's not having anything. It's not being with a person. It's about feeling the moment. That's freedom. I'm leaving you with this because I really want you to leave today and think about, what does freedom mean to you? What does it look like for you? How would it be like for you? And why not begin it now? Let's pray. I want to thank you for joining us today. I am so grateful that you took your time to watch or listen to this message. If you found this message beneficial, I would ask you to go to our website. Once there, click on the Contribute button and experience the joy of conscious and purposeful giving. It is through your gifts that we are able to bring this message to the world. I would also ask you to please share this message with anyone you feel might benefit. Again, I want to thank you for joining me and the Agape community as together we bring joy to life.